Well, welcome back to Weather Nation. We're talking about the threat for severe weather, and over the next couple of days, we're talking about storms potentially rolling through the nation's capital, but also more wet weather on the way for places like Greenville. So we're definitely talking about some wet conditions, but today for a lot of us, things are quieter, but storm chances in the heart of the country.
Yeah, we're looking at wet weather moving through the central United States, out to the northeast though, where they've been dealing with some soggy weather recently, finally starting to dry out, at least for now.
Yes, but again, we're talking about wet weather moving back in. So let's hop into that forecast to tell you a little bit more about what you can expect. And we'll start out with this fact that, hey, most of your region was dry. So I hope you enjoyed the dry conditions yesterday. And we're talking about some dry conditions being out there for today. We're also talking about some heat toward really places like New York City and even area south of that. And when we take a look at places like Asheville, North Carolina, for example, they've seen a ridiculous amount of rain since June 1st. They're now close to 5 inches above where they would average be, or where they would normally be by this time of year. So we're definitely talking about just a lot of rain. We've seen a lot of rain in Baltimore since June 1st, for instance. The average would be right around 9 inches of rain through now, but they've already seen 23.38 inches of rain. So that lets you know that we've seen a lot of rain across parts of the East Coast and including the Northeast. And when we take a look at New York City, since June 1st until now, we picked up more than 17 inches of rain. On average, we would pick up just about 11 inches of rain. So we've definitely seen our fair share of wet weather. And when we take a look at the radar, and you'll see more or less the frontal boundary that'll be out there, we're talking about more rain moving across the Ohio Valley and more of that moisture moving into the Northeast as we head throughout the latter parts of today and potentially into parts of tomorrow. And on top of that, we're keeping an eye on what's happening with the Susquehanna River. It's been very wet. We've seen some flooding across parts of this region over the past couple of weeks, and we're still dealing with some river flooding concerns across the Susquehanna. Now, when we take a look at the setup for severe weather for today, we're noticing just a general outlook for severe weather across parts of the north and east. We notice that marginal risk to the west, but more of that risk for severe weather will be moving in. So take a look at what happens. We have this warm front that's in place across our region today. That'll help as it moves north, allow for a lot of warmth to take over parts of our region. But at the same time, because of a cold front connected to that system moving in from the west, that'll lead to rain showers. That'll lead to potentially storms rolling through. So we're talking about that wet weather arriving as early as Friday morning, and then potentially a round of severe weather on the way throughout Friday late afternoon and evening. But once that clears out, as we head into the weekend, things look pretty nice. But again, because we have that cold front moving in and we have some warmth out there through Friday, we're talking about a marginal risk for severe weather, the threat for isolated strong storms that produce hail, damaging wind, and even the threat for some isolated tornadoes. In the meantime, we're talking about heavy rain that will be falling inland, but some of that moisture could be impacting the coast. In the meantime, as we take a look at Portland, Maine, fairly quiet today. Some warmth out there, temperatures near 80 degrees, but rain showers and storms on the way by the time we get to Friday. Now let's take you out to the west and take a look at this video from late July, where we saw that massive fire whirl, that fire tornado that formed with the car fire. Definitely caught so many people just with this intense fire whirl. I mean, something you really don't see too often.
Yeah, that's definitely a rare sight to see, and something we don't like to see, because that is a huge fire continuing to grow. It has grown so much since back when we first saw the scene that this video is showing. The car fire now at over 200,000 acres, but good news is containment starting to pick up on this at 69%. Mendocino Complex fire, the largest wildfire in California state history, at 364,000 plus acres. We're dealing with fire and smoke across the country because of the fires that have been burning out to the west. That smoke is traveling all the way into the upper Midwest, into the central United States. That's being carried by the jet stream. So all of us seeing that haze. We have more fire weather concerns out for the Northwest today into tomorrow. That comes along with storm chances, but we see a concern with what we call dry thunderstorms. This happens when we see a high base thunderstorm develop, but we have a dry layer. So as the rain falls through that, it evaporates. It doesn't hit the ground, and it ends up causing fires by lightning strikes. You'll see those showers trying to form through the afternoon today, mainly over parts of Oregon, but just not enough that we're going to be seeing any real benefit. Still a big concern for fire weather across the region. We'll be talking a little bit more about an active situation out in the tropics, tracking 2 storms. More on that coming up.